Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's live stream. First, news update from Moscow, and my apologies for being 12 minutes late. You know how it goes. Last minute check on sound, on internet, on this and that, and unfortunately, StreamYard and Wi-Fi simultaneously did not want it to work. So I have to restart everything, and hopefully sound is good now, and the video also. So that's the situation. I see question. One member of community was asking on YouTube why stream didn't started yet. When you are working live, dear friends, there is always a possibility that something will go wrong. Nothing to be said about equipment itself. That I definitely have to update whenever I will have an opportunity for that. But nevertheless, let's go through program itself now. It is 5th of December, of course, 13 past 1, middle of the day by Moscow time. And well, as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, although it seems like days relatively slow news-wise, at least for now and here in Russia. I don't know about other parts of the world, but still, I do have dozens of news that I want to share with you because I think these informations are important. So before I start, let me just drop in chat link to my Rumble channel in chat on YouTube, dear friends. And if it's convenient for you, if you can, please switch to my Rumble channel during this stream, if you can, of course. So I dropped the link. It should be visible now. And well, that's about it. Let's go through some news now. As you know, dear friends, I'm streaming simultaneously on my YouTube and Rumble channels, and I do want to try my best to further develop a channel on Rumble. And there is a probability that if members of our YouTube community will watch my videos on Rumble, there will be better numbers, and maybe Rumble algorithm will show my channel, my videos to a wider Rumble community. I hope it will work. Anyways, dear friends, that's been said, let's go through some news now. And well, first, of course, I will start with the major news, which is in Russia and I guess also in India, that official part of Russian president's visit in India has started today, and already Indian Prime Minister Modi and Russian President Putin had significant negotiations. Yesterday was the first day of this visit, and on my Telegram and Twitter page, I did share some video of arrival of the Russian president. On internet, probably you have seen other videos. President Putin was greeted really as a close friend of India, because this is true, by the way. Russia and India are strategical partners, and New Delhi demonstrated this. The New Delhi clearly tried to demonstrate close, warm attitude towards not just Russian leader, Russian delegation, but towards Russia, first of all, obviously. Expectations are that very significant contracts will be signed by two sides, and probably later on today we will start receiving informations about these agreements that two sides did reach. I think we should expect serious agreements to be signed, contracts in energy field, not just oil, gas, but nuclear field, by the way, nuclear energy. Also, I think significant agreements will be signed during this visit of Russian president in India to further enhance trade between the two sides. Right now, trade deficit is huger in favor of Russia, mainly due to energy exports from Russia to India, and both countries, leadership of both countries, agree that there is a massive potential to further enhance trade because there is a huge opportunities for companies from both sides in all fields, all sectors, not just energy, but many other, right? Also, I think during these negotiations, agreements will be reached between Russia and India to further enhance capability or possibilities for Indian citizens to come to Russia for work, for example, for work opportunities, and they're high skilled and they're medium skilled, let's say, specialists from India probably will have an easier time after some agreements will be signed today to come to Moscow. Process has already started, dear friends, and here in Moscow, for example, I can visually see and confirmed increase of presence of Indian citizens, which is definitely helpful for both sides. Citizens of India can come and make some money, and Russian economy that needs more hands, by the way, needs workforce, will have a little break, right? So I expect some agreements to be reached between India and Russia in trade, also in terms of Indian workers, skilled workers coming to Russia for work. Some of them might actually decide to stay in Russia and become a part of Russian society, very much possible, right? Also, obviously, we cannot pass on military cooperation between the sides. There is expectations that massive contracts will be signed between the two countries in military field. I already reported earlier that expectations are that contracts will be signed about export of Russian Su-57 fifth-gen fighter jets to India and consequent transfer of technologies, which means most likely, shortly, India will begin together with the Russian counterparts produce Su-57s on Indian soil, and according to Indian legislation, by the way, at least 50% of military equipment that Indian Army is receiving, Army, Navy, Air Force, have to be built in India. So transfer of technology in terms of Su-57 going to be very significant, and India is interested not just in stealth technology, but first of all, I will say in engine technology, and I think Russia will transfer to India this technology also. We will find out later on today level of agreements. Also, reports are about, of course, S-400 air defense systems to be transferred, agreement to be signed about S-400 air defense systems that Russia can export to India. And rumors are that Russia might actually transfer even S-500. I still have some doubts about S-500 because it's highly classified weapon system, I guess, still. But because India is a strategical partner of the Russian Federation, I would not be surprised, by the way, if two sides will agree on S-500 also. And this is not all, dear friends. Reports are that most likely today we will receive information about yet another contract between the sides about rent of Russian nuclear submarine by Indian Navy for training purposes. Agreement might be for 10 years, and will money-wise, this agreement will worth $2 billion alone. This single agreement on nuclear submarine will worth $2 billion, which is quite significant, of course. And the Indian Navy definitely has interest in training its mariners, its maritime force, to operate with a nuclear submarine. This is not the first time, by the way, such an agreement about a lease of Russian naval vessels to India has been done. For example, in 2021, India returned to Russia rented nuclear submarine. So there was a similar contract before also. So India was operating with a nuclear submarine, Russian nuclear submarine, but on the Indian flag, right? And a similar contract may be reached now. And I think there is a high probability that Russia will transfer technology also, so that India will be able in maybe next decade also to further enhance its engineering capability to build nuclear submarines, safe nuclear submarines on its own. You can imagine how complex nuclear submarines are. By the way, it's a nuclear reactor and all that stuff. It must be crazy difficult from engineering standpoint to do this, right? So bigger news to be expected from India, and later on today, of course, if there is enough news, let's say, I might launch second news update, second live stream with additional information about these developments in regards to negotiations between Russia and India and some others. Definitely worth pointing out that Western pressure on India didn't really work much, isn't it? Western elites were hoping that they will derail somehow Moscow's and New Delhi's cooperation, but no, it's not happening, by the way. Indian people know perfectly well which country and which people stand next to India during the most difficult times that this nation faced. I would not go into history, but Indian people know which people stand with India and which countries were against India. And those countries that were against India were led by US and UK. Just saying, you know. Some other news, dear friends, last night, Kyiv regime, with assistance of NATO, launched yet another volley of drones to strike deep into Russian territory. Majority of drones, as always, were intercepted, but unfortunately, some drones did manage to bypass air defense systems. And we have this morning reports that Ukrainian drones hit business center in southern Russia, in a Grozny city, by the way. And right now on your screen, you can see damaged office building, high-rise office building. Several floors were damaged in a building, and fire erupted. But according to latest reports that I see, emergency services dealt with the situation. They're going to be retaliation, by the way. They're going to be retaliation, obviously, for this yet another terrorist attack conducted by NATO and NATO proxy Kyiv regime. And I guess nobody in our community has any doubts that this was intentional strike on a commercial district of Grozny. It has no military implication, right? It's a civilian area, absolutely civilian area, right? Residential buildings, commercial office blocks. And they targeted this office block absolutely intentionally. And that's the face of Western elites, by the way. They are terrorists and mass murderers. That's it. That's what they are, and that's what their proxies are. Terrorists, mass murderers, scum of humanity. And when it comes to terrorist activity of NATO and NATO proxy Kyiv regime, second time in a row, London and Kyiv, or British terrorist regime and Kyiv terrorist regime, threatened, basically ignore the security of NATO countries. A few days ago, I reported about 2 tankers being hit by British and Ukrainian drones, maritime drones, in waters of the Turkey, NATO member state. Also, there were reports that a Turkish tanker, by the way, that was carrying allegedly Russian oil, was also struck and they're still sinking, I guess, somewhere off coast of Senegal. And Ankara tried hard, by the way, to ignore these developments, not to comment on it, because, Turkish political class, Turkish elites are British proxies, and they did not want it to escalate with London, right? Otherwise, statements from Ankara would be much more tougher than we had seen, right? And another NATO member state that London and globalist proxy Kyiv regime endangered is Romania. And the Romanian Navy, by the way, detected a maritime drone in Romanian economical waters, 36 nautical miles east of Constanta port city, and Romanian Navy was forced to basically target that maritime drone until some civilian vessel was struck by it, right? So level of terrorism activity or terrorist activity from London and the British proxy Kiev regime or globalist proxy Kiev regime is increasing literally day by day. Out of desperation, Western elites, Western ruling class, including British so-called elites, of course, are acting more and more irresponsibly. And one might wonder what else they gonna do. Seems like they're those rabid animals that are in charge of UK lost their minds completely. They lost their minds completely, by the way, because what they do is beyond anything that we have seen, at least in relative past, right? They are openly conducting terrorist attacks, and in their pursuit to harm Russia anyhow, they even targeting and endangering formally their allies that Turkey and Romania are, right? So that's what is happening, by the way. Probably Romanian military saved dozens, maybe hundreds of people while detecting this British and Ukrainian drone, maritime drone, and destroying it. Because who knows, maybe cruise liner would be struck by it. Can you imagine the level of casualties if, let's say, cruise liner end up being struck by this British drone? Level of casualties would be in hundreds, isn't it? Potentially. But yet again, these rabid animals that are in charge of collective West in general and UK, United Kingdom in particular, they are like a runaway train at this point. And from them, anything should be expected, any level of terrorist activity. And as we know, by the way, it's a British history. When they lose, by the way, they start terror campaign. Last result of British Empire always was a terror campaign. Always, historically speaking, right? Terrorism, when you hear terrorism and terror, first country comes to mind is United Kingdom. It's British Empire, Britain. That's their history, by the way. You know, for them, killing civilians is nothing, literally nothing, by the way. And that's why Brits were burning alive hundreds of thousands of Germans, civilians, by the way, intentionally, absolutely intentionally, during the Second World War. Soviet Union was not doing this. Soviet allies, true allies, by the way. I'm not talking about these mass murderers, US and UK, but true allies of Soviet Union did not burn alive hundreds of thousands of civilians. Americans did, and Brits did. And they still are justifying this, by the way. Somehow they are still justifying killing innocent people, civilians, hundreds of thousands of them, right? So I'm telling you, these rabid animals are out of control, and I don't know how humanity can deter them. I have no freaking idea. Best way to go forward, in my personal opinion, at this point, until it's not too late, is to demilitarize UK as soon as possible. And also I will demilitarize France too. Russia can do this. It's a matter of 30 minutes, literally 30 minutes. And neither of these countries have militaries left, or military capabilities, let's say, right? First of all, nuclear capabilities. And then maybe London and Paris will start acting a little more rationally. Maybe, but now this is a runaway train, and anything to be expected. It's freaking terrorists, man. And on the topic of these rabid animals that are in charge of UK, And I'm not apologizing, by the way, for using this language. British royal family, British aristocracy, British political class, financial elites, they are rabid animals. They deserve no sympathy, they deserve no respect, absolutely. There should be no mistakes made about it. And these creatures, this filth that British leadership is, open for stealing of Russian assets. About 10.6 billion pounds of Russian investments are being frozen in the UK, according to reports. And during the recent talks between foreign ministers of NATO member states, London allegedly stated that they are absolutely ready to steal this 10.6 billion pound worth of Russian investments into UK and transfer this money to formally to Kiev regime. In reality, they're just gonna steal it, man. Right? Justification for them is this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, but in reality, they just want to harm Russia any way they can, and they just want to steal because that's what they do historically. By the way, that's what British elites do historically, right? They always steal, and that's what European elites do historically. They always steal. Rob and steal. That's their history, right? I'm not exaggerating nothing, literally. That's what they do, man. And that's why they reach a certain level of, wealth. That's how they reach, that's how they gain most of their wealth, by the way, while robbing the rest of the world. Facts, right? And of course, Brussels is on the same page. Brussels is on the same page. Brussels, I mean EU bureaucracy, EU's unelected bureaucracy. And yesterday I reported that Ursula von der Leyen and her inner circle are basically coming up with the ultimatum towards EU member states that either they all gonna take loans and finance this proxy war that they are waging against Russia for years to come, and they're gonna take a loan in dozens of billions of euros, potentially hundreds of billions of euros, or they all have to agree to steal Russian assets. So Ursula von der Leyen is blackmailing EU member states, and you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna steal Russian frozen assets, and still on top, by the way, on top of that, they're gonna force EU member states to allocate dozens of billions of euros anyways. That's what they're gonna do, right? And I think you will find interesting this reporter that as a result of this hostility of the EU against Russia, as a result of anti-Russian sanctions and everything they do, EU economy lost approximately $1.6 trillion. Those euros, sorry, 1.6 trillion euros, which is about 1.7, 1.8 trillion dollars, I guess. Quite significant, isn't it? Quite significant. And I think this is a very conservative estimate. This is very conservative estimate. If you keep in mind that hundreds, thousands of companies are shutting down in Europe because they lost competitiveness on a world scale due to high energy cost, first of all, because hundreds of companies are moving their manufacturing capabilities outside of their EU. Generally speaking, overall losses of EU gonna be in trillions, by the way. So that's why I think this 1.6 trillion is a very, very conservative estimate. Right? I can give you some details on that. Russia considers attempts to control the global economy through unilateral sanctions, vestige of colonial thinking, and notes that they have caused serious damage to those who initiated them. This was stated by Dmitry Chumakov, deputy permanent representative of the Russian Federation to the United Nations, at the meeting of the UN General Assembly dedicated to combating unilateral coercive measures according to estimates by the IMF, UNCTAD, whatever that is, and FAO, sanctions pose systemic risks to the entire global economy. The diplomat noted that the European economy has suffered cumulative losses estimated up to 1.6 trillion from anti-Russian sanctions alone in 2022-2025. Just 3 years, by the way, 1.6 trillion losses in the European economy. And there, yet again, I think this is a very, very conservative estimate that a Russian diplomat highlighted there during that meeting. In reality, we are talking about trillions. And in reality, there is not even theoretical chance that EU, by the way, will turn the tide in terms of its economical decline. And I'm so sure of that I have said many times before that EU is doomed. The European part of the Eurasian continent is doomed to enter a very dark place, by the way, very dark place in next couple of decades. Give it 20, 30 years, and the European part of the Eurasian continent gonna lose any relevance whatsoever on a geopolitical scale. It's gonna be hellhole. I'm telling you. Mark my word, by the way. Hopefully all of us. But if not, then at least hopefully many of us will be alive in 20, 30 years, and we can then remember what I was saying, what I was predicting this far from the past. Anyways, from the past for that particular point when 30 years passed, right? Anyways, 1.6 trillion losses at least for European economies, quite something, man, quite something. And well, you tell me what European societies are thinking, man. Do they care, really? I mean, majority, of course, informed minority cares very much, but they are not in a position to influence anything, at least for now. But majority probably don't even know, man. Not just they don't care. They are not even trying to understand what the hell is going on and to learn some more, right? To do some research. It's not that freaking difficult, right? If you want to know, you will find the ways how to learn stuff, right? But seems like majority just don't freaking care, man. That's it. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting, and this is also kind of interesting stuff, that according to Der Spiegel, Western media outlet, quite a big name, I will say, published a transcript of their classified or secret conversation between EU leaders and Zelensky, and well, they did spoke quite negatively about US and US leadership, I can tell you. So German magazine Der Spiegel has published a transcript of a secret phone conversation between EU leaders and Vladimir Zelensky about a settlement between Moscow and Kiev. European heads of state and the government appear to have deeper mistrust of the United States in peace negotiations with Russia and Ukraine, the publication writes. The meeting took place on Monday and was attended by, among others, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, French President Emmanuel Macron, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Finnish leader Alexander Stubb. This Finnish leader is just everywhere, man. Just everywhere. And this is concerning because I see two reasons why Stubb being promoted this much, kind of, by the globalists. One is that Stubb might take a position, high-ranking position in EU, maybe that's the reason. He's being promoted when there is no meetings nowadays on any level in Europe or in the West that Stubb is not present, which is strange. He's a president of Finland, man. I mean, who cares about president of Finland or what Finnish government thinks about anything whatsoever? I mean, who cares except Finnish people? They are not important, those so-called elites in Finland, man, and their positions. But Stubb is promoted, right? Clearly. That makes no sense right now, but there is two scenarios. One is that he's going to end up being some high-ranking official in in the West. Maybe he will replace, I don't know, Kaja Kallas or maybe even Ursula Bursuler, possibility. Or other scenario is that globalists are preparing Finland for a war, direct clashes with Russia. That's what I think, by the way, that Europeans clearly are preparing for a war with Russia, open war with Russia, European elites, and the directions from which they might strike Russia is not necessarily from south or from the center, from Poland or Romania. Probably they will focus more on the north, and on the north there is Finland that has massive border with Russia, right? So I'm not saying that Poland or Romania are going to stay out of the potential direct war with Russia. No, but I'm talking about possible main directions of attack. And we are seeing these developments, and we are ready. For a reason, after all, Dmitry Medvedev, former Russian president, visited the Finnish border or border with Finland, some area there, relatively recently. We are observing what is going on there, and hopefully we are getting ready to deal with whatever threats West gonna come up with either from Finland or from Baltics in general, and that includes Kaliningrad region of the Russian Federation also, obviously. Anyways, the stub was presented during that phone conversation too, and the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. This is a possibility that the US is betraying Ukraine on the territorial issue without clarity regarding security guarantees, Macron allegedly said during that meeting. So Macron is accusing US of betrayal, and he's accusing Trump basically of that. I don't know if Trump is going to be briefed about this whole situation. If so, he's not going to be happy with Macron, by the way. I don't think Trump and his ego can deal with the situation when some freaking nobody somewhere from France is mocking him, right? Trump's ego wouldn't be able to ignore this stuff, right? So if he's briefed on this situation, he will respond, probably, and quite hard, quite harshly. In his opinion, Zelensky, in opinion of Macron, Zelensky faces a grave danger. Also, Merz, Chancellor of Germany, for his part, urged Zelensky to exercise extreme caution in the coming days. They are playing games with both of you and us, the Chancellor said, likely referring to US presidential envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, while they were communicating with Russia. With Russian President, Stub called on Europeans not to leave Zelensky alone with these guys, and Rutte also offered to protect the head of the Kyiv regime. The publication states that Europeans planned to hold the talks with Witkoff and Kushner, but the meeting did not take place. The participants in the conversation also asserted that they had the right to decide the fate of frozen Russian assets themselves, not the US. Okay, by the way. Okay, so you see, dear friends, you see there is a clearly sort of, if this leak from Der Spiegel is not a part of deception operation itself, then there is clearly some tensions between American ruling class and European ruling class, and European elites are not shying away to mock, at least in private conversations, to mock their American counterparts. And yet again, if Trump was briefed on that he's being called names and he's been mocked, I don't think he's gonna take it lightly, man. He will respond and respond hard. And they should, because after all, even if this report is deception operation, US being mocked, by the way, US being ridiculed by European leaders, and I don't think Washington can pass on that. They have to do something about it. So we will probably receive, hear some strong statements from Washington. Let's see. But yet again, because I don't trust her, and no one should, either European elites or the West American elites. Therefore, I consider everything I see now as a part of deception. And if between Washington and the European capitals will ignite some open attacks on each other, even then I will think this is deception. They lost trust so much so, and any respect whatsoever, that whatever they do, it seems to be lie and deception. And they themselves bring it to them to their side, isn't it? They were acting this way for many years, and now hardly anyone can trust anything from the West, from the Western elites, right? But I'm interested, how far this alleged confrontation, internal confrontation between American elites and European elites gonna go, if anywhere. Meanwhile, Australia is making sort of headlines, by the way. You might wonder why Australia. And the point is that, Australia has extremely Russophobic leadership, and Australia's government, that is proxy of the globalists, obviously, tries to maintain some sort of a relevance. And, they are coming up with the idea to transfer to Kyiv regime their Tiger attack helicopters. This is a European helicopter, by the way, that you see on your screen right now. Australia operates allegedly with 22 such type of attack helicopters or helicopter gunships. And they're going to replace these helicopters with the American Apaches, UH-64s. And, Australian government now is coming up with their idea to transfer these Tigers to Kyiv regime. I don't know how many from these 22 is operational. Probably at least a dozen of them are operational, and the rest can be used as spare parts for the spare parts, right? And therefore, we should not be surprised if in upcoming days or weeks we will hear official statements from Canberra that they have transferred their Tiger helicopters to Zelensky's regime. I guess Australian government also have to create some PMC or order pilots, their own pilots of those Tigers, to leave army, at least for time being, sign up for PMC, and then operate with these helicopters on behalf of Zelensky and his criminal associates, because you can give a Kyiv regime as many Tiger helicopters you want, but if they cannot fly them, then what's good for them in present of such a weapon system? So Australia will have to send their pilots too. And of course, this will change nothing on the battlefield if Tigers will arrive in next several weeks or months on a battlefield, as Australian Abrams tanks did not really influence anything, isn't it? Literally anything. Australia transferred to Kyiv regime several dozen of its Abrams tanks, older Abrams tanks, once they start receiving a new generation of Abrams. And they want to do somewhat similar with their Tigers. Allegedly, they already received their first two UH or AH 64s, and their final timeline for their Apaches is 2029. So maybe once they will receive a little more Apaches, they will begin transferring more and more these Tiger helicopters to Zelensky. Let's see. But question I have is why, man? Why Australian people tolerating this shit? Why Australian people are tolerating this crazy, insane behavior of their government? Are Australians Russia haters? They've been indoctrinated in Russia hate also. I mean, majority. What the hell, man? What we have done bad to Australia ever, literally ever. By the way, what the hell? What are you doing, guys? Crazy, man, crazy. And you know what? When Australia will end up in trouble with China, let's say one day, they will need allies, right? They will need someone who can help, and down someone potentially could be Russia, but Russian government at the time might say, you know what, we can help, and we want to help, but you know what, we remember what Australia was doing against us some years ago, right? And therefore, you know what, yeah, we pass on that. Do Australian people think about it? Or they think, just because they are allied with the US and the UK, they are protected? I mean, seriously? Take a look at the state of US and Europe. They are going down, man, and fast. Fast. If US still has some chances to maintain its relevance on geopolitical scale and save itself, basically, in some ways, and that chance is only with the alliance with Russia, Europe has no chances. Europe has no chances, literally, not even theoretical. So Australian leadership should be more wise, man. And I will say the same to New Zealand. Guys, you are far away from all this stuff, and just stay away, man. Try to be neutral at least, right? Don't send weapons against Russia, man. Don't do this. It makes no freaking sense. Because times might change, and tomorrow you might need Russian help, and people here will remember. Anyways, Middle East, dear friends. New York Times is reporting that Israel plans to open checkpoint between Gaza Strip and Egypt, but only for Palestinians to leave. They're not going to allow Palestinians back, or any other Palestinians that are, for example, in Egypt now, to back her. So New York Times said Israel is once again trying to violate the terms of their peace agreement. The article by the New York Times states that Israel announced its readiness to open the Rafah crossing on the border with the Gaza Strip in the coming days that's between Gaza and Egypt, by the way, that is occupied by Israeli forces. So they are ready to open this checkpoint or border crossing in coming days, but only for Palestinians to leave to Egypt without the right to return. This decision could be their only chance for the seriously injured and seek to leave the destroyed enclave. And by the way, you tell me, man, you tell me what's going on there. How long humanity gonna tolerate this fascist entity that Israel is? We all should be shamed, man. All of us. I mean, all of humanity should be shamed that we did not neutralize this fascist state, Israel. They are not shying away to say openly, just that they are all for genocide and they are all for ethnic cleansing. That's what this is. Palestinians can go but never come back. Who the hell are you to tell Palestinians what they can and cannot do in their own homeland? But that's how fucked up this world is, by the way, that humanity is allowing fascist entities to exist. Fascist entities like Israel. And I said many times before, only chance for sustainable peace in the Middle East will emerge if humanity somehow, humanity or world community that not really exists, will find the guts, courage to confront these fascists, Israeli fascists, and majority Israelis are fascists. Majority Israeli supporters are fascists, by the way. First of all, Zionists, obviously, and Israel itself, as a quasi-state, is a fascist entity, obviously. So until humanity and world community finds courage to confront these fascists, demilitarize them and denazify them, There's gonna be no sustainable peace in the Middle East. Period. It's just factual what I'm saying, right? We all understand this. Only question I have: will humanity stand up for itself? Because it's innocent human beings. It's innocent human beings that being killed, kids, by the way, childs, right, and mothers and elderly, kids, women, elderly, innocent people were slaughtered in tens of thousands by these Israeli fascists, and world allowed this to happen. Shame on us, man. Shame on us. Our descendants gonna be so shame on of us, man, because we as a humanity at this particular point deserve no respect of our grandkids and their grandkids, man, because we allow these atrocities to happen and many other atrocities. That's how disgraceful humanity is, man. Facts, right? We might don't like it, but we are cowards, man. We as a humanity are cowards at this stage of existence of human civilization. We are fucking cowards, man. All of us, right? All of humanity is a fucking cowards. True. Facts, man. And I'm ashamed of myself that I mean, I could not stop this genocide, for example, in that Israel committed. All I did is talk about this stuff, but this is nothing, right? But what else should I and what could I do, man? I don't know. It's a shameful stuff, man. And I'm definitely not comfortable, neither with myself, neither with the rest of the humanity, that we allow these atrocities to happen and continue to allow, man. That's how bad we are, man, as a humanity. Really. When it comes to Gaza Strip, reports are that hopefully our kids and their kids, they're gonna be much better than us, and they will never ever allow this kind of stuff to happen, man. That's the only chance for humanity, because our generations, we are just fucking cowards, man, that deserve no fucking respect. We are disgrace of humanity. True. Painful true, man. Yasser Abu Shabab, leader of Israel-backed anti-Hamas militia, was killed according to Israeli Channel 14. As you know, these fascist Israelis are finding some criminals in Palestine, among Palestinians, right? And arming them, training them, providing them with all sorts of assistance, including military assistance, and they're trying to use them to suppress Palestinian people. Formally, they are using language like they are creating these groups to, fight Hamas, but in reality, all they do is to further kill more Palestinians, right? And one of the leaders of such a group, this Yasser Abu Shabab, was killed, and several others alongside him. And on other sources, I have seen reports that it was a close gunfight that this Israeli proxies end up, and they were eliminated in that close gunfight. Maybe by Hamas, maybe by some other groups, but yeah, Israel lost one of its proxy groups like that. Also, reports are that Turkey concludes massive Eastern Mediterranean 2025 drills with US, Pakistan, and Azerbaijan taking part. When I see this report, by the way, I was thinking, Azerbaijan, really? Azerbaijan, last time I checked, was only had their coastline on the Caspian Sea, which is not really sea, but lake, biggest lake, right, in this world. And how they How they participated? With what? With just their manpower? Probably, probably. But yes, Azerbaijan was a part of these drills too. A total of 30 vessels, 67 aircraft, and 11,000 servicemen were involved. Their forces practiced deploying drones and unmanned boats, among other tasks. And who knows, man? Maybe this is a message. This exercises, relatively large-scale exercises of Turkish Navy and their allies, Pakistan, for example, Azerbaijan. Maybe this is a message for Israel. Maybe this is a message for other Mediterranean countries, for France, for Greek leadership. I don't know. Maybe even for Russia, by the way, because of the strategical location of the Turkey. So interesting. Just something that we should keep in mind, that Turkey is training and preparing for something, and what that something is anybody's guess. Meanwhile, I want to share with you this quite interesting news, dear friends, that I saw on RT, that Polymarket odds that Democrats will take House next year surge to 80%. So now, by the way, expectations are in the US that Democrats gonna have a massive victory in midterm elections, right? And probably they will. Not because many people are now in love with the Democrats and their pretty much nonsensical ideology, but because very many people in the US are extremely disappointed in the Republicans and this so-called MAGA movement that is or was led by Donald Trump. Very many people in US are disappointed in current administration for many reasons, starting with the Epstein file cover-up and you continue. By the way, there is so much that administration did not fulfill from its promises, and so yes, probably these odds are correct, and in midterm elections they're going to be landslide victories of Democrats, and they will regain control over their house for sure. And I find it difficult to believe that the next presidential elections, Republicans will manage to maintain their candidate in the White House. Probably they will lose, man. I don't know what is your take, dear friends, but so many people, even from our community, by the way, that are US citizens, so many people are disappointed with Republicans and their current administration that they probably will just not vote. They're not going to vote for Democrats, or majority of them, but they will just say, you know what, fuck it. There is no point to vote for anybody. Nothing is changing anyways, right? That's probably going to be attitude, because that's the true, man. It's not really matters for who you vote, Democrats or Republicans. In charge, in reality, are certain groups that are financing both, right? So therefore, policies always are about something else and never about America first. That's just the truth of life, right? And there are more and more people are just waking up to this truth in the US. And therefore, they're going to be Democrats' landslide victory in midterm elections. But yet again, not because Republicans going to vote for Democrats, but because many Republican voters or libertarians, let's say, or centrists, they're not going to vote whatsoever. They're just going to ignore it. Also interesting news that China has deployed a larger concentration of naval and Coast Guard vessels across their Asian waters, East Asian waters. Reuters reports intelligence assessments say the number has passed 100 vessels, the largest show of maritime force to date. According to 4 regional security officials, Chinese ships are positioned from the southern Yellow Sea through the East China Sea, extending into disputed South China Sea and the Pacific. While this period is traditionally China's peak military training season, the PLA has made no announcement about any major exercises. The surge in activity came aimed a diplomatic clash with Japan after Japanese Prime Minister Senai Takashi or Takaichi claimed in November that Chinese move to Taiwan could trigger a military response from Tokyo, Reuters. And what this Prime Minister of Japan was thinking, man, what she was thinking, she just get to office, and first thing she did is escalated with China, man. What is wrong with her? Why? What for? I don't know, man. It's I understand Japan is a U.S. colony, and Washington decides foreign policies, everything in terms of foreign policy of Japan, and also in regard to Japanese military developments. But for God's sake, man, this person, this female, Takaichi, just get to office, and it only took like a couple of weeks before she completely annihilated relationships with China. Insane, isn't it? I mean, truly insane, man. I don't know what Japanese people think about it, but this is crazy. And already, by the way, maps were published on initially on Chinese social services, social networks of potential Chinese strikes on Japan, massive strikes, right? Retaliatory strikes if anything happens. And on those maps that I have shared with you, like last week, that was on that those maps, you can see that if it comes to Chinese retaliation on Japan, well, Chinese will not play around, man. They will take a massive attack. They will go ahead with the massive attacks. They will obliterate Japan, literally. Based on what I see on those maps, man, Chinese will not play around, man. They will attack her and attack hard, and they will basically decimate Japan. And do Japanese people really want this? For what? For what exactly? So that Chinese people on Taiwan will not join mainland China? What the hell, man? Japan. I don't know. Oh, this is Washington's policy, but yet again, I mean, I know Japanese people being kind of westernized and they are admiring Americans and America and all that kind of stuff. Washington did massive work, by the way, to change Japan, right? Since the Second World War, but still, I mean, Japanese people should have some sort of critical thinking ability left, right? Do they really want to die for Taiwan, by the way? Really? And Taiwan is a China. It's not Japan. Nobody's business, by the way, what China will do with its own territory. It's a China. End of story, man. I don't even understand what is their discussion here, or why is there any discussions. Taiwan is a Chinese territory. China can move its forces in Taiwan any day, literally. It's his right. Chinese right, man. It's China. There is no fucking independent state as a Taiwan, man. No, Taiwan is a China. Period. You know, and it's a self-governed island just because during the civil war between communists and the forces of the Chiang Kai-shek, when Chiang Kai-shek forces lost on the mainland, they take exile on Taiwan and some few islands around, by the way, small islands, right? And for whatever reason, Communist Party did not pursue straight away, right? Those Chiang Kai-shek forces. And so that's the only reason why Taiwan is a self-governed, but it's still China, by the way, right? It's China. So no one has any right to tell China what Beijing can and cannot do on its own territory. If they want to move forces into Taiwan today, okay, it's their right, man. It's their territory. It's their people. Even if Taiwanese were brainwashed, or if Chinese people in Taiwan were brainwashed, and if some of them are thinking now that, you know what, we are Taiwanese ethnicity, it does not, no one cares about it, man. It's not factual. They can think that they are from Andromeda Galaxy also. Same way, who cares, man? In reality, they are Chinese, right? And Taiwan is China, period. And why Japan wants to be obliterated? To somehow, why Japan wants to be obliterated for Taiwan is I don't know. It's beyond my understanding. Anyways, a few more news, dear friends. RIA Novosti is reporting that the central bank will lift restrictions on international money transfers from December 8th. So central bank will lift restrictions on international money transfers for citizens of Russia and friendly countries starting December 8th, the regulator announced. And well, I guess this step is to somehow weaken Russian ruble. I guess this is the reason why central bank made this decision. Ruble is getting stronger and stronger, by the way. You might be surprised, but ruble is getting stronger and stronger. And right now, I can check what is their current rate. It's 76.97 right there on top of the page, by the way. You can see exchange rate to dollar, 76.97. This is ruble being strong, man, very strong, right? And economy is not happy about it. Economy is not happy about it. Exporters are not happy about it. Federal budget is losing tremendous volume of money through taxes that these exporter giants are paying, right? While exchanging their foreign currencies on a ruble. When ruble is too strong, economy is suffering, by the way. And unfortunately, prices are not really dropping. You would expect if ruble is getting stronger, then prices gonna drop, so consumers, ordinary people, gonna be happy about it. Not really, though. Inflation is slowing down. Yes, it's under the double digits. But if you think just because ruble gets stronger now, prices are dropping, no, man, you know business, how they operate. Give them an opportunity, they will increase prices, and they are very hesitant to lower the prices on anything, right? Because they are profit oriented, man. They are businesses, so you cannot really complain much, right? I mean, that's what business do. If we want free market economy, then that's how it operates. Of course, state control has to be in place on certain levels, and it is in the place, by the way, and they are basket of critical goods, right? Let me explain this way. There are baskets of critical goods, dozens of goods, by the way, on which prices cannot exceed a certain level. On those goods, companies cannot speculate too much. They cannot make 100% profits while selling those goods. On others, they can try to make 300% profit. No one is regulating. But there are certain type of goods, food and medicine and stuff, that state is involved in certain ways to make sure that those businesses not gonna go crazy, right, in their pursuit of more and more profits. And it's good, by the way. I'm all for that. But on the other hand, yes, one would expect that because ruble is getting stronger and stronger, prices will drop significantly. But no, this is not the case. And central bank and economical bloc of Russian government is clearly also not really happy with this situation. Demand on Russian ruble is high, right? Because Russia's trade with their, partners is mostly done in rubles, or significant volume of this trade is done in rubles. So companies worldwide are buying Russian ruble, right, on exchange, then to use to purchase certain goods from Russia. that increases significantly pressure on Russian ruble. Because of it, Russian ruble is getting even more stronger, by the way, right? Interest rate is also quite high. It's 16.5% interest rate of central bank. That puts some pressure also on ruble, and therefore I think economical bloc is working on ideas what they can do to somehow weaken the ruble at least a little bit, right? And this is the decision that they come up with, that they are allowing now citizens of Russia and the friendly nations with Russia to transfer money outside, right? But this is not about businesses, by the way. Businesses are still not allowed to transfer money without any limits. There are limits, by the way, right? Maybe in first half of 2026, central bank will start lifting, its restrictions on the commercial institutions also, and maybe that will help to weaken ruble a little bit. Maybe, but who would think, by the way, that after so many freaking sanctions that West come up with, tens of thousands, right? It's around 30,000 more. After so many sanctions, after such a heavy pressure, Russian economy will not just not collapse, but go overheated, by the way, which is also not really good. But nevertheless, Russian economy was overheating, and central bank and economical bloc did quite a good job to cool down economy a bit. And also, probably there was expectations in the West that not just Russian economy going to collapse, crashed, but Russian currency going to crash big time, and it's going to be chaos. No, man, Russian ruble is getting so strong that it is a problem now also. And government economical bloc is trying to do something about it. But yet again, demand is high. Maybe we have to use to this situation. Maybe ruble will just go stronger and stronger from now on, man. And maybe towards the end of next year, there will be like exchange rate will be 50 rubles for a dollar. Could be the case because yet again, Russia is a big exporter country, right? Trade is done largely in rubles. So there is a massive demand on Russian rubles, right? And this demand will go nowhere. It's going to stay, right? So maybe we have to just adapt to this new reality when Russian ruble is in high demand and is strong. It is what it is. It's harmful for economy now, but if we adapt to this situation, then we will just live with it, I don't know. Ideally, I think ideally course exchange rate that will be more or less good for exporter companies and for federal budget. Ideal course is like 110 rubles for a dollar, maybe higher, right? Up to 130 even, but it's just not happening, man. It's just not happening, right? And also, I'm going to share with you this interesting, I think, report that Russia's VTB Bank, which is the second lender in the country, aiming to launch a crypto trading in 2026. The country's second largest bank intends to allow buying, holding, and selling currencies like Bitcoin through its brokerage service. Russia may launch crypto trading regulations as soon as next year to allow for this to happen. And well, quite interesting. If Russian VTB Bank and their other banks probably will also join in this process, if they will open in the platforms for crypto, that will be useful. Obviously, that can become very useful tool, man, in hands of not just businesses but ordinary people too. Because yet again, as Russian President Vladimir Putin said on numerous occasions, and many other high-ranking officials, by the way, most of those sanctions that West imposed on Russia are there to stay. Only some might be lifted after some time, ones that are especially damaging for the West. But most of the sanctions, generally speaking, are there to stay, and so this is, I think, good idea to develop platforms, right, for cryptocurrencies, so that businesses and ordinary citizens will have opportunity to use it, in their business or into their daily life. Why not? So something to keep in mind, by the way, something to keep in mind there. I know nowadays, by the way, when foreigners are coming in here in Russia, they are finding it difficult to deal with this banking system, financial system, because Visa cards, Mastercards are not working here, right? So you have to have a Russian bank card, or or there are options also to use crypto platforms, right? And well, if big names will get engaged in this business of crypto, like VTBs, Bear, and others, that will make it much easier, yet again, for locals, businesses, and their citizens, and also for foreigners, by the way, that are coming here in Russia and quite often finding it difficult to use to do anything really, because they cannot pay. They've, that's, I know as a fact, by the way, but foreigners experiencing some difficulties in regards to this, and this will help, hopefully. This will help. And this is it for now, dear friends. This is it for now. Hopefully, news segment was informative and useful. Let me right now check on about some breaking news. Maybe something is happening right now at this point. As I said, Putin Modi meeting is number one news at this point, of course. What other headlines we have here? United States has included restoring stability in relations with Russia in its national security strategy. Really? Who's gonna believe in this nonsense, man? Central bank will lift the restrictions on money transfer abroad. I already reported on that. Yuk fighters liberated their Bezimian settlement. I will say this is a breaking news, by the way. So Russian troops have established control of the village of Bezimiana in the DPR. Good news here, by the way. Bezimiana is located on the northern side of Konstantinovka, by the way, in between Konstantinovka and Drushkovka. So significant progress. I was expecting this to happen, isn't it? Yesterday, I believe I didn't even spoke about such a possibility, and well, we have today confirmation of that. And let me check, let's say, TASS News Agency for any breaking news, what they have here. Zakharova's statement that NATO has destroyed all normal contacts with the Russian side. Yes, factual, 100%. Oh, interesting news that Russian forces have destroyed more than 60,000 Ukrainian drones in 2025. In total, more than 100,000 drones of enemy have been destroyed since the start of the special military operation. More than 100,000 drones were destroyed. Just imagine the number, sheer scale of the drone warfare that is going on, by the way. 100,000 drones were destroyed, and unfortunately, many thousands of drones were not destroyed, and so okay, that's about it for now. I think this is it for the news segment, dear friends. Hopefully you did find it interesting and informative. Let me check, by the way. I guess there was no super chat on Rumble. Otherwise, Anna would tell me about it. So yes, there was no super chat on Rumble. No questions from Boosty. So therefore, it is time to say goodbye, dear friends. It is time to thank you all for your attention. And well, see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Great upcoming weekend, and take care. And dear friends, if in case you want to support my work, I will just add that in case you want to support my work, under this video in description box, you will find, and in the pinned comment after the stream, you will find links that you can use to donate, and also you will find their link to my Patreon page or page on Boosty. And if you can support in the long term, please join me there on Patreon or on Boosty. That will be, of course, also a great support. Thank you all, dear friends. Have a wonderful day and a great upcoming weekend. Take care.